I guess Gary has just returned to Monkey more than we have.
I have very much returned to Monkey, yes.
Welcome to the Three Guys on a Pie podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan, here with my co-host, Gary. And again, our guest, Aaron.
I'm glad to be back.
So I think today we're going to be diving back in a little bit more to the AI, maybe skirt around that. And in episode 3, I know you had mentioned you seem to have some strong feelings about whether or not we are in a simulation, what, because there's more to it than just, are we in a simulation? Is it, what are the moral implications? Does it matter if I were to just shoot you in the head right now? Are you even real? Am I real? Am I just talking to myself right now?
Would you like me to explain my feelings towards it first?
Yeah, I think
kind of explain it to you.
How would you feel if you found out you were in a simulation?
Depressed, immensely, ridiculously depressed, probably to the point of suicide. Not even gonna lie.
Why
Really?
so?
Yes. Okay. So part of it is from a religious standpoint. And not to get like too into it, but like if we get to the point where we're in a simulation and like I'm not real. I told you guys about how I had an existential crisis driving home from high school the one day, right?
But it's not that you're not real. You are essentially an AI.
Yeah, but that's...
What if it's a simulation run by God? Isn't that basically what we're already thinking?
Or yeah, what if like what you think of as your God is just the computer programmer that created the simulation?
I'd be
and
pissed
if you're
off
good
if
in
gave
the
me such a
simulation,
shitty life.
if you're good in the simulation, he like puts you in another better program.
If I found out that God wasn't this old dude with a white beard and has no face, and it's some greasy computer programmer, I would still be super depressed. And the reason why is because, like, for me, it's existential dread. It bothers me when I think of if I die and there's nothing after this, and it's just dark and I stop, that puts me into a panic attack. I don't like the idea of just stopping. And it's just darkness.
To me, that's a relief.
No, like, it's making me anxious just talking about it.
Because, like, worst case scenario is the afterlife is terrible.
I would prefer an eternity of damnation, of being tortured to the point of wanting to die again, than nothing happening.
That is bizarre.
Yeah, that is a
and I know it's weird,
You're
but
a
like,
man than I am.
well, see,
Yeah.
and the reason why I would prefer that is because it's something after this. The idea of just stop, and it's probably because I like doing stuff actively as a person, and the idea of just darkness and stopping, like, people are like, oh, well, it's just like you're sleeping. Okay,
No, it wouldn't be anything like that. It wouldn't be anything. It wouldn't even be darkness. It would be nothing.
And that is terrifying to me. Absolutely nothing.
But I find it comforting because, like, once you're dead like that, there is nothing. So you don't even have time to worry about it or be sad or terrified. It's just...
That's why I'm sad and terrified of it now. Like, it's something that bothers me because the nothingness, the void, the abyss, just like it, that... Oh, like, dude,
okay,
seriously.
Well, what if we remove the afterlife question and just think of it more like a Matrix kind of scenario where you're in a simulation and don't know it?
Right, and
does that
your
make a
human
difference for
body
you?
is in a simulation. Yeah, your like brain is plugged in.
So Matrix style, brain plugged in.
Yeah,
but again,
your consciousness in a simulation.
Yeah, as far as you know, it is the real world.
Now,
it's basically the same thing.
That doesn't terrify me as much because it has the implications that after this simulation ends, if it ends, there is something to do on the other side after it's over. I know it's not removing the that's not removing the afterlife idea, but for me, like, you get what I'm saying.
I'm just saying, though, remember, if you die in the Matrix, you die in real life, right? So,
Now is a really bad time to mention that I've never seen the Matrix films.
Wait, you either?
I'm
going to have to make all of you watch them.
I've watched the first... I'm pretty sure I've watched all of them at some point, but I've watched the first one several times.
Laura hasn't seen them, so I'll make you all watch them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm open to watching them. Absolutely.
So how would you feel if all of a sudden, scientific breakthrough, there is no afterlife? Like, when a human being dies, that's it. And we're able to prove it. How would that make you feel?
Like, there's not a lot worth living anymore. Like... I know it's so weird, and that's not even like a religious thing. If there's nothing on the other end, like nothing on the other side, if it is just a void, it's the same reason why I don't want to go to space. It's a void out there. There's some stars, yeah, but they're not close to us. Other than the sun. It's a terrifying perspective for me.
Huh.
Because my head, like, you don't want to know what's, like, in my head.
You're right.
It's basically a monkey banging on cymbals 24 hours a day. And for that monkey to stop banging on cymbals and not exist anymore, I check out. Nope. Can't do it.
I guess
can't.
Gary has just returned to monkey more than we have.
I have very much returned to monkey. Yes.
Yeah. So you wouldn't want to like. It wouldn't encourage you to like make the most of the life you have.
It would, but I still have that nagging feeling at the very back of my mind. One day it's gonna be utter darkness, and everything that you have done does not matter. So it would encourage me to do something that would cement my existence in history.
You're a strange man, Gary.
I know.
Although, actually, you're probably in the majority with this.
Right. So, like, it would make me want to do... Like, I already want... It would want me to create a legacy. We'll put it like that. Whether that's having children who take my name, which is one of the reasons why I want to have kids, is so that the redacted name keeps going. You're gonna have to redact that, but
that's your name. Like the name is what's important.
The redact the name.
No. But that's what's important to pass on, not like your way of seeing things.
Well,
or
but
like
that's what I'm saying. The legacy, like the name,
childhood memories.
Well, so part of it's like ancestral worship, you would say. Because
you're one of those people who actually care about your lineage.
Yeah, and part of it's because, especially with my grandfather passing away last year, he was a very important person in the area. I mean, like, you guys obviously don't know him, you guys were farmers, but he was a big name in the area. He was connected to other people who were also big names in the area. Different families. You know, his way of life, his name that he had passed down to my father and my uncle and my aunt. My aunt and my uncle, they have shat all over their lineage, and I'm not getting into that in this video. But my father kept it, and he passed it on to me, and I've interacted so much with my grandfather that I've learned it too more firsthand. And like, that's something I want to pass down to my kids, and I want to be like, this was your great grandfather, you know. I want to pass that legacy down. That's partly why I want to have kids. Mm-hmm. And why the idea of the void terrifies me, because it's like, well, what was building this legacy up if nothing exists in the end? In a very nihilistic way of thinking.
I'm almost the opposite.
Yeah, but like, no matter what, nothing exists in the end, though.
I know, and it's terrifying.
The Earth isn't going to continue forever. It will eventually. The human race will one day die. And and every memory of you will be forgotten.
And that's also why I don't want to live forever. Like, that's also why I don't like the immortality thing. I don't want to live till the freaking sun death of the universe. Like, I don't want that. Yeah. Because it would be hot.
That's like it would be actually cold.
Cold, yeah.
But right. That's like the ultimate goal for me, is like to be, like, that would be awesome if I could be one of the last remaining humans alive.
No, dude. Like, it's terrifying.
Like, be on that ship as, like, we run out of fuel and, like, that's just it.
And the sun just goes dark.
See, I never understood people that say if there's no afterlife, then your life on Earth or whatever doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, your life on Earth already doesn't matter.
To me, it's almost the opposite. If there is no afterlife, then the only thing that matters is your life on Earth.
So you take kind of like a nihilistic viewpoint.
Well, sounds like you almost are too.
No, yours is more nihilistic than his. He's saying if there's no afterlife, your life matters. You're saying if there's no afterlife, your life doesn't matter.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You have the more nihilistic view. Ironically, in this situation.
They're two sides of the same coin, though. One's more optimistic, one's a more negative.
I do enjoy my job. I don't hate it. I just hate some parts of my job, which I feel like everyone does.
It's like, why cut the lawn if the grass is just going to grow back, huh?
Because it keeps me employed.
I'm talking about time scales with that. 10 days versus hundreds of years.
Yeah. Like, I'm not going to mow it and be like, all right, see you in a decade. Peace. Like, no.
I wish that's how grass works.
Fuck no, then I'm out of a job. Stop. Shush, both of you. I'm mowing your grass next week. I don't give a damn how much it grew.
Oh my god. You're going to have to help me break the stones out of the yard then.
Oh god. Yeah, I'll just chuck them at the cars.
So what about like a time accelerated simulation? So you're experiencing like a day in real time, but you're doing like a decade in the simulation. But you don't realize when you stepped into the simulation, so to speak. So as far as you're concerned, you think it's real till you exit. Kind of like the Rick and Morty thing, where you're in that whatever, they're at the arcade and you're like,
oh my
be
god,
gone.
yeah, you live a whole life and you get out and you're like, oh my god.
almost like that. Not quite as extreme, but
Or what if this is all a dream? What if you're still middle school you who fell asleep?
I think about that a lot, actually.
Like, what if
I
you
really
just
do.
like how would you feel if one day you woke up and it was 20 years ago and you're like a little 5-year-old kid who just dreamt everything that happened?
my
5-year-old
reaction,
me has a lot to, like,
Well, both of you. Like,
5-year-old
how would
me
you
has
react
to go to
that?
therapy.
save up my money and invest in GameStop.
So you would view it as a premonition. So
5
you would assume that what you saw was real.
I don't know. I would at least realize mistakes I've made or might have made. Say
As a
if it was like an
5-year-old?
alternate. No.
I was just about to say, like,
no.
Maybe
But
like
if anything, you'd be more.
15
I was
or
gonna say,
something,
how would
where you
that-
have a better grip on life.
How would that work? Because you'd have the maturity of when you exited the simulation.
Yeah.
No? More or less. Yeah.
Well, in that case, it would be a dream.
yeah.
You'd be whatever, older, wiser.
From a dream.
Theoretically.
Yeah. Well, you've experienced subjectively 80 years of a human life as a child.
That in itself sounds terrifying. Like, to a kid, I feel like that's terrifying. Like, you live your whole life in a dream, and, like, the last moment you remember of the dream is, like, dying. Whatever that is,
And
whether
then
it's
you
old
wake
age.
up and you have to do it all over again.
Oh, that's like a really bad Groundhog's Day.
Yeah, that sounds
oh,
awful.
God.
Oh,
that
really? I
sounds
like that. That's
terrible.
I would rather live 160 years of a continuous life. I would not want to go back and redo, because then you're constantly like,
Well,
second guessing yourself and trying to.
Whether it's real or not, or whether it's just like another cycle in the simulation.
Maybe
yeah,
that's- Maybe that's why I hate getting deja vu.
See, I think it's really cool because then you could like experience a different it's like the same life, but it's like a different path you could have taken.
Choose your own
and
adventure.
you could
Life
just
edition.
like go through and make different choices, and like that could be really interesting.
And that's like the thing. Like I've thought about this. I always used to be like, oh, I wish I could go back in time to when I was 5, and I would do my whole life different. But I don't think I'd actually. I think if that was offered to me, I wouldn't take the opportunity,
I would.
because I would be too afraid. Like, because I like what I have now, I would be too afraid to screw up
But-
trying to optimize.
And
what
that's
I
the
did.
difference between you and I. I have made and Aaron. Me and Aaron probably collectively have made enough mistakes for like 8 different people. in
I
our
mean,
lifetimes.
I've made my share of mistakes.
But are they as catastrophic as me and Aaron's mistakes?
You're much happier with your current circumstances. Than
Yes.
we are.
Yes.
Well,
like,
outwardly appearance maybe, but
Well, you just said you wouldn't hit the redo button.
yeah, because I'd be worried I'd make things worse.
So you just
okay,
pessimist.
that's fair. Meanwhile, there's me and Aaron who are like, well, we're at rock bottom. How much farther can... Does it have a basement?
That's my concern.
I'm
is-
pretty confident I could do better. Yeah,
I'm confident I could do better.
and if
too.
not, maybe I'll get the choice again.
And maybe, I mean,
Oh,
I
wouldn't
guess
that be-
financially speaking, it would be so easy to go back, because we're in the stage where all you'd have to do is go back to when we were like 7 and invest all your money in Apple, and then you would just be able to do whatever you wanted to do with
No.
your life by
Well,
now.
you could have say things aren't
win the lottery, like
You could make
Yeah.
things play out differently. But no, that would almost be weirder if you're doing this like thing where it resets and you get to do it multiple times, and then one time it just stops, and you like you're expecting to be able to hit the reset button, and you're just stuck in that timeline.
And that would be the one where I'm actually a hobo, too.
Yeah,
Like,
right?
not just looking like one as I do now. Like, actually a hobo.
Because that could be interesting too. It's like, okay, you have this safety net, but we're going to take it away without telling
Randomly.
you. And yeah, that'd be
See, for
Interesting.
me, it's not
That-
even...
happens in something. That is a
Does it?
trope in a TV show or a movie or something, where like the person is doing that. They're trying to get something perfect, and they're like, "Ah, crap! I messed this time up again." And then the reset never comes, and it was that was their last shot to do it.
Oh, that was a movie. Or was it a TV?
I don't remember.
I vaguely remember something. I'll have to take a look.
Yeah, it's like that. Exactly what you're talking about is like they're trying to do something and they're trying to perfect it, and like they start screwing around. And one of the times that they screwed around, they don't get to reset anymore.
See, and the thing is, when we're talking about this thought experiment, you two are coming at it from, I think it's safe to say, a more financial, like, look at it.
Well, because like
Not really.
finances fix everything. Like if I could go back to being 7 years old and being a multimillionaire, I would just not have to do anything for my life. I could just do whatever I wanted to do.
I'm looking at it more from a moral perspective. I look at it more as a harsh critic of myself morally going through the years rather than the actions that I took.
So how about
What
this?
do you mean?
Would you be better at relationships if you go through a second time, right?
You picked it up.
You wouldn't make mistakes, you would
I would
treat
have
your social life differently.
Yes, I would have ended my first relationship I would have squashed it. I would have never gotten into that relationship. And I think that is enough to drastically change tons. A lot of that too, and this is getting way off topic, but Megan did not, she had severe social anxiety, so I cut ties with a lot of my friends because she would never want to go and do stuff with my friends because she had social anxiety. I think it's a bunch of shit, but that's neither here nor there. That's just a depressing revelation of my. Yeah, we might have to cut that. That's a little too depressing. But like everyone who's listening to this podcast, you know, all 7 of you, I know at least 3 of you are my friends, and you already know that Megan was bad for me. So,
but yes, so you could benefit from a reset.
Yes, but I would definitely benefit from a reset. But I'm not looking at it to try and like make more money, or I'm just like. I would want to use it to mature more emotionally than I would for anything else. That's what I would want the benefit for.
Yeah, see, I have the unfortunate
I don't
circumstances where I was kind of forced to mature more quickly than would typically have been normal, and that kind of altered how things happened. As I would want to go back and
be a child,
because I was a very hateful person when I was younger, and like,
I mean, you still
when
are.
I started. No,
that's a little.
No, like, I won't even talk about this on the podcast.
Yeah,
like,
I wouldn't want you
to.
to.
Bad, and like when I started dating Laura, I started to like really reevaluate myself as a person, and that's when I really like gears started clicking that I had never, because I was just filled with so much rage that like I had never taken the time to think, and like that was a transformative experience.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying I would do too. Like, I'm not saying I would have matured quicker or slower. I think the rate at which I matured was fine. I feel like I had a healthy, if anything, I could have used a healthier childhood, a dose of actually having a childhood.
Yeah.
So that's something I didn't have. It wasn't until I was in Scouts that I actually kind of had my childhood, because I went to Scouts not to be a Boy Scout, but to hang out with this fucking lug over here.
To have friends.
Yeah. I had friends.
Hang out with people his own age.
Yeah.
Yeah. Roughly.
It was nice. So that's why I never made it above second class Scout for the 4 years I was there. Second class Scout is like the second step. Yeah, from being a Scout.
It goes like first, second.
No, it's second class, first class, Star, Life, Eagle.
So you were just first. You were like
there's Tenderfoot before that.
I hate Boy Scouts, but that's a whole nother
That's
topic.
a whole other topic.
I don't know. There's a difference.
You guys are the exception.
Jumping through the
and Nick.
I'll call them administrative hoops to get ranks versus developing the skills and maturity that they're actually supposed to represent.
Oh, and
aren't necessarily. They don't always go hand in hand.
And if the people that are like doing your You have to sit down with like a group of, they're not the Scout leaders, they're like some of the adults. It's some sort of council thing that they choose.
Where they touch you?
No, they don't touch you, but if they don't like you, you don't make it to Scout rank. That's what almost happened to Raleigh and Tony.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'll have to talk to you about that after the podcast, because that's a whole can of worms.
So rather than hitting a reset button on like a dream sequence, hallucination, simulation, whatever you want to call it, what if you just extend your life? So rather than having a reset button now, you're evaluating like if you could do things differently. Mm-hmm. Now, what if you just did stuff differently from now on, right?
Change my life for the better?
Become fashion. A better person.
Rather than
choosing now. Yeah. You can do that without a simulation.
Exactly.
People choose
rather than malign. Oh, if I had a reset button, I could change my life.
Well, yeah,
and be happier.
I'm not living my life expecting a fucking reset button. Like, I do actively try to take the routes that will improve my life. Hence why I haven't been in a relationship in the last 2 years, because they're just bad for me. Like I was saying, like, I do actively make the choice to not be in a serious relationship because it doesn't seem to agree with me because I get into serious relationships with the wrong people.
Yeah, you just seem to have bad taste in women.
I do.
That is a very charged statement.
No, he's not wrong.
He doesn't disagree.
He's not wrong. So here's my thing with women. I'm able to put all of the bad things of whoever I'm dating into a box, dig a hole, put that box in the hole, and pour concrete over it, and then never acknowledge its existence.
Which is very unhealthy in a relationship.
Which is really
and
bad.
has been all of your relationships that
Yes.
you've told us about.
Yes. And that's what my problem is. I have to see these red flags and be like, that's a red flag.
Maybe I shouldn't tolerate abuse.
Yes. Being as that both my relationships were abusive. That's, again, neither here nor there. But yeah, I do actively seek to make my life better in different ways by the year.
Yeah, no, I'm in the same boat. Don't get me wrong.
That is why
Change is slow and difficult.
Well, change is slow but never ending. So,
It doesn't have to be difficult either.
Yeah. That's why
It's all
I'm
about the mindset.
Yeah. That's why I'm actively trying to do things so I can lose more weight and actually keep the weight off this year. I gained 50 pounds over the winter. I'm going to lose all 50 pounds and more in the summertime, but I want to be able to keep it off, in the wintertime. So I'm taking those steps to do that. I don't need a simulation to tell me that I'm fat.
The CDC has a calculator for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Didn't the one time you get BMI'd, they told you were morbidly obese, Aaron?
Yeah.
That's why I was able to get the vaccine, because I'm technically obese.
Really?
Yeah.
I was gonna say the calculation hasn't changed.
It was weird because I remember you coming in and because we were talking about health or something at your place. I know Nick was there. I don't know if you were there. And you said that they called you morbidly obese, and this was when you were built like a brick shit house.
Yeah, it's one of the problems with
You're still built like a brick
the
shit
BMI
house.
scale is it doesn't take into consideration muscle mass and things like that.
When it's
I could be the weight I'm at now and be healthy, but I'm not healthy at the weight I am now because of my body proportions. Yeah, I could probably, and I'm trying to probably lose 40 or 50 pounds. I've got my ideal weight would probably be about 50 pounds below what I'm at now.
Yeah.
Now, that put me back to where I was in high school. And I thought I was fat in high school.
50 pounds puts me back to where I would be at in high school. And I was shorter in high school, so it would be better for me. I'd still be overweight, but I would be healthily overweight.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to, honestly, if I could get rid of my gut, I would feel so much better. But yeah, I don't need a simulation to tell me that I've done things wrong, and I don't need a reset button to know that I need to change things about my life. If that's what the simulation is for, thanks, pal, but I can figure that out on my own. Would it be nice to have a reset button? Absolutely. Would I press that button? Probably multiple times a week. I'm not afraid of a simulation to be beneficial to humanity, I'm part of a sleep study. This is kind of along the lines of the Soma thing.
So what I was trying to get at, I guess, with these questions is, if you woke up tomorrow 10 years ago, right, and this this whole thing was some sort of simulation or something, you're saying it is definitely beneficial to have gone through this process, and this process, the last 10 years that, say, weren't real or whatever, had meaning and value.
It'd be beneficial, and yes, they would have meaning and value, but they would also be borderline abusive and torture.
Yeah, I agree with him. It would probably cripple me psychologically.
Yeah.
I don't think I could function afterwards.
Huh.
I think I could function, but I wouldn't be okay for many years.
If things panned out to follow those events even remotely closely, I would be so decision crippled that I would always be worried I'm making the wrong choice.
Gotcha. Huh.
Because there's things that have happened in my life that I'm sure have only happened due to very specific circumstances. And I would be worried that, oh crap, I didn't take a left turn that time by accident and something turns out differently.
Got into a car crash.
Gotcha. Because that's a kind of common trope too, is it's a simulation or it's a video game, but a realistic.
A la Rick and Morty.
Yeah, where. So, nothing I did in there doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that I went into the simulation and killed a bunch of fake people or real people, or who knows. Depends on the
context,
circumstances, right? But it doesn't matter because it doesn't make me a bad person because none of that was real. Is there a point in a simulation where it's
it's almost like simulation therapy at that point.
Yeah, and that's a contentious topic too, is for serial killers, is letting them, or even pedophiles, would the solution be, because like both of those are mental illnesses. It's just like sexuality. You don't choose to be a child predator. That's not an active decision you make. It is a mental illness.
The decision you make is to act on it.
Yes.
I'm not going to say anything about pedophiles because I have some very strong opinions towards that
So do I.
shit.
Like,
So
I
I'm staying away from it.
condone their behavior. I don't think it's acceptable. Not offering people mental health for these things is what causes them to become abusers. Because if you don't offer help to these people, they're going to act on those impulses instead of being treated for the underlying mental illness.
It's like most things. If it's stigmatized enough that nobody ever mentions anything like that, in certain individuals that are, whatever, at risk or have this inclination or whatever, right? If they feel so ashamed that they never bring any of this up and never are able to work it out in a healthy way.
Yeah, that's why suicide rates among men in high-tension environments are so bad. Like, for, like, police and stuff, they don't feel like we had to have a special person come and talk when I was working in Ocean City. They're like, if something's bothering you, you need to go talk about it. Like, police deaths in the line of duty is decreasing, and it's a freaking X chart for suicides. Like, it's a very serious problem in people that work in high-stress environments, especially for men, because men are always taught to not talk about their problems.
Which is bullshit. A lot of it. Not to get too anecdotal, I work with my dad now. I talk to my dad very similar to how I talk to you guys. I will be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I will like curse at him. I will even, I'll even like,
crying.
He'll start talking to me and saying something stupid. And like, I'll get downright mad with him and just start like yelling at him. And he'll be like, whoa, and that all stems from back when I was in high school and earlier before. He used to work at a warehouse and he was fucking miserable. And he would take it out on me. Not physically, but emotionally. And that I just never... That's why I spent so much time at your house, because I didn't want to be near Dad. It affected me so bad. I had such a mental health soup problem going into my later years of high school and college. I remember having like a mental breakdown like a week before graduation in high school because me and my dad got into an argument. And I locked myself in the freaking bathroom. Yeah, it was bad. And then I got to college and I was taught, hey, it's like okay to talk about your feelings. I'm like, whoa, this is weird.
Yeah,
this is new. And like, yeah, it's a real thing. Men, talk about your feelings. It's important.
Yeah, and that's the whole like the toxic masculinity thing is that like kids are, especially boys, are taught at a young age that showing emotion is wrong, and that leads to a lot of problems.
And another aside for that is like, I think it's absolutely bullshit that you can't talk about your problems and not be a man. I think it is more masculine to be able to talk about your problems than to just shove them down your throat and hide them with alcohol and nicotine.
I feel added. Not the nicotine.
Yeah, I was just about to say, the nicotine was me.
Sounds like it's coming from a personal place there.
No. We could talk about the moral ethics of simulation therapy.
Is it moral to go into a simulation and kill people? And if it is, how is that different than first-person shooters?
Well, I think you have to put it into context. So, if you get put into a simulation where it is the game of life, VR edition, and you choose to go on a rampage at the mall, that is different than if you're playing a first-person shooter in VR that's about World War II.
Well, like, I feel like that goes. That's like, what about GTA?
You're
like
not
that.
killing people.
Okay.
Like real people, right?
Yeah, but you're not killing real people either way, though. Is there anything wrong with killing not real people in a simulation?
It all depends on what your mindset is going into the simulation. If you're going into the simulation with just this is my chance to actually kill people, that might be a little bit of a red flag. Seriously, though.
But could it be beneficial as an outlet?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Like,
it's
if
the same reason.
Don't, or could it foster those behaviors?
Then you're getting into the argument of it wasn't the gun's fault, it was the video game's fault, which is bullshit. I am so sick and tired of hearing that argument.
Yeah, there's been studies on that, and it's shown that video games actually have a tendency to decrease violence because it gives people an outlet.
I think we have to frame this argument a little more clearly before we have it. Because obviously in a video game, there's no real stakes. Nothing's happening. You're not killing killing real AIs that are getting deleted or destroyed. You're not fighting real people that their lives are actually ending, so to speak. You know what I mean? So it's not quite the same thing.
And like I said, it's about the mindset you go into this simulation. If you're being told, hey, you're going into a simulation where you can do whatever you want, and your first instinct is, cool, I'm going to buy a gun and shoot up the local mall. Again, that's a red flag.
If it's
I think that's a red
if
flag.
you know, yeah, but that's like saying GTA is a red flag.
GTA is among the premise of that's the point of the fucking game.
No, but Gary, the way you're being set up with the simulation is it's for entertainment. There's no consequences by design. It's not like it's a VR kind of thing where it's real people and if you kill them, they actually die kind
Right,
of thing.
but I'm saying if you're being told you're going into a simulation of life and you can do whatever you want and there's going to be no repercussions, my first instinct isn't immediately to go and shoot people.
No, it's to get hookers and blow.
Yes!
In an environment like that, though, like, presumably, especially if you could run it multiple times, there's no reason not to take a bunch of different paths. And,
Oh, yeah, but...
you know, just do different stuff.
All I'm saying is, if that's your first instinct, you might have... I'm not even saying, like, you're predisposed to committing, like, crimes against humanity.
Yeah, I guess if I understand what you're saying, if it's real enough that it's like real life, it is concerning that you are able to do that.
Or again, if it's just ambiguous whether you're actually causing harm to others.
Well, I don't even mean that, because I feel like for most people there would be a mental block if the VR is sufficiently, if it's like you're living a real life, that most people, even in that, if you're willing to kill someone, even if you know it's not a real person, the act of bringing yourself to do that might be, I think is what you're saying. Is like, that might be an indication that like
there might be an underlying problem.
You deviate some way. It might not be, oh, you're a serial killer. It just might be you're less empathetic or...
Yeah. And like I said, I'm kind of looking at it more from it being simulation therapy, not just a video game in my head. Because I'll use an example from a game I've been playing a lot recently, Cyberpunk. I know we keep coming back to this, but it's a good... I used to play Grand Theft Auto Vice City on PlayStation 2. I was not good at the game because I was not a good driver in the video game. No, it has no effect on how I drive in real life. Shut up, both of you. And so I wasn't good at doing the missions because a lot of it is driving to places, and I wasn't good at driving. So I defaulted to just buying a sniper rifle. I didn't buy it. I used the cheat codes to put it in, and I would sit on the beach and shoot people. Okay, so that was back in 2002 when that game came out. Fast forward to now. Cyberpunk's out. Huge world. It literally just Grand Theft Auto Cyberpunked. I don't just go and randomly shoot the civilians, even though that's something that you can do. You can just mow down civilians. I don't do that anymore. Why? Because I'm afraid of the cops in the game. But for me, it's also like a moral thing. It's like, what the fuck did these civilians do for me? Nothing. But that's me as an adult looking at them and going, oh, these are just people walking down the street. Yes, I know it's a game, but it's like, I put myself into the game. It's like, all right, these are just, schmo. I am going to go down the street and fuck up those gang members because they're from an opposing gang. But like, I'm not going to, have a problem with these just people walking on the street.
And I think with the biggest disconnect, though, between like the VR games and something like a game I used to play, Metal Gear Solid, is that you're not that person doing those things.
Yes.
You're playing as someone who's... Because like one of my favorite things in Metal Gear Solid was I would do all the cheat codes and set up claymores. And there was this building you could be in and just set up claymores at doorways. And my favorite thing was to just trigger the alarm and just have the guards run into this infinite stream of claymores.
Oh my god. That's pretty glorious, actually.
Just because I just always liked watching destruction as a child. And like games were like especially like driving games like MX versus ATV where you could do all kinds of like cool stuff and like smack. I loved that.
I mean, yeah.
Or like Halo, what I would do is I'd go around Halo 3 in the map editor. I would go around, delete everything off the map, buy as much explosive as I could, set it in a pile, and just shoot it. That would entertain the shit out of me.
The Halo 3 level editor was great. When I actually liked hanging out with my cousin before he stole tons of money from my grandmother, was we would get together and we would play Halo, and we would just make random maps. We had one, I remember the name of it. It was called Maple Syrup. No reason, like there was nothing talking about syrup at all, but there was one random teleporter in the game that took you to a room that you could not get out of. Had all the guns in the world in there, but you could not get out of that room. So you had two options. You either A, waited for another idiot to just pop in there and shoot them, or you had to blow yourself up to get respawned not in that room. And that was so much fun. That was fun.
I wish I could go back and get my maps. I think I lost the hard drive that had them all, but like I loved Halo. That was like
Halo was the only
creative
shooter
outlet
game I
for
liked.
me
Yeah.
as a kid.
Shoddy snipers. Oh my god. That was my favorite game mode.
I never. I see. Again, I had dial-up, so I couldn't play online first-person shooters. I had to entertain myself. I couldn't play any online games. I had to entertain myself in the games I had by myself.
And you were lucky that you had Halo because it had a good storyline to it anyway.
Oh yeah, and like there was a lot of like good challenge modes and stuff. But yeah, like that's the difference. Is like I would not. Like if I was in that situation, I would not get any satisfaction out of just like repeatedly killing people. Like,
yeah.
But like it's fun in a
Something
game
to do,
that's
yeah.
structured to do that. Because like the whole point is you're killing these terrorists on this oil tanker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, and that was my thing with Grand Theft Auto as a kid. It's like, I knew, and this is why parents aren't raising their children right, I knew it was a video game. I was taught it was a video game. I knew that you could do things in the video game that are not real life because, hey, it's a game. It's not like I go and I punch someone down the street, oh, it's time for school. I get on the school bus and I punch someone sitting in the in their seat because it's what I did in a video game. Like I had that degree of separation. So I do believe it is the mindset of going into like the VR therapy, the simulation therapy, what they tell you what they want your mindset to be, or what you choose your mindset to be going into it. Because if you choose like okay, well, if this is simulation therapy, I'm going to do all the things that I've always wanted to do, but just never thought I could do it. Yeah. Like some of that, and it depends where on the moral compass that falls. I actively wouldn't go out and get hookers and blow. If I was in a simulation, I'm not saying it's outside of the realm of possibility.
You don't have to worry about STDs in a simulation.
But would you still feel them is my question. I don't want to feel that burning sensation in an undisclosed location. Like, I'd rather not. So it allows people to maybe explore their moral compass too, which I think is a point you were trying to bring up, Aaron.
I don't know. So you're saying like in a personal simulation, let's say nobody else has access to it, right? It's like your own private little world to do, like your sandbox if you want.
It's Minecraft.
It's interesting because it's like, what kind of person are you when no one else is around, right? It's kind of like
depressing.
No, I'm not talking about your extrovertedness.
I'm sorry. Continue. I'm sorry.
Right, but if you're only a good person when there are people around, or it'll be noticed, versus if you're a good person when no one's watching, isn't that? It's like an extension of that argument almost.
See, I feel like my simulation, my own personal simulation, if that was something that I would feel like it'd just be boring. Because it would probably be me tucked away in some remote location in Scotland with a farm.
Yeah, my biggest thing would just be like doing things I can't feasibly do in real life.
Like living on a mountain with
no cost money.
Yeah, living on a mountain, not paying taxes, like raising sheep.
Or going to like space or something like you can't.
That'd be neat.
Or stuff that's not safe to physically
going
do.
to the bottom of the Marianas Trench.
Yeah,
that would be neat. That would be cool.
Or climbing Mount Everest over like.
Yeah, that'd be neat. Jumping into a volcano.
Yeah, or just doing stuff like that.
Yeah, yeeting myself into a black hole. Oh, that would be cool.
That's what I would preoccupy my time with. Or destroying large structures. Because that would be satisfying to watch.
Crash planets into each other.
Yeah, like Universe Sandbox, just like
throwing two black holes at each other and watching them suck each other into a gigantic black hole. Yo.
Yeah, like stuff like that. There's just something satisfying about like stuff like Universal Sandbox, or
it's very calming.
Or even like I think that's like part of what like makes Besiege fun is you're like building this little siege engine that like you could totally just destroy itself too. I don't know.
Yeah, simulations like that are okay. I think they're all right. And this is kind of going against my previous VR criticism. Whereas when does that, if it becomes better than being in real life, why would you choose not to be in it? You know what I mean? Which I'm still a heavy opponent of VR because of that. But
I agree with you. Yeah, why would you experience real life if you could just experience VR for your whole life?
Yeah, that's totally what I would do.
Because it's not real.
So
that's what
does
bothers
it
me.
matter? You don't even know that this is real.
If it's a realistic enough simulation.
Stop trying to give me a panic attack, you fuck. My whole thing is, if VR comes to the point where it is better than real life and people don't want to leave it, that is a problem.
What if that's where we are?
Then I hate it. I don't like it. Again, it makes me scared.
So we've been giving Gary a lot of panic attacks, but we haven't really asked you how you would feel. If
You got to
were
talk
in a
about
simulation.
this.
Why is that hold on.
He doesn't want to
Aaron
talk about it.
used Shield.
Why is that a problem if people would rather be in a simulation than the real world?
Because
There's
why?
less people for Gary to talk to then.
No, it's not even that. What is
The
so
whole simulation
then
thing.
what is so bad about the real world that we choose to be in the simulation? And why haven't we put the effort into fixing that? Instead, we put the band-aid of let's just throw them in a simulation and call it a day.
You can
'Cause
almost
it's easier.
You can almost do both. The people that don't want to put in the effort and work to fix the world can go into the simulation, and everyone else that's left are the people that actually want to put the effort into.
Yeah, and it's not
the
even
world.
necessarily that there's something wrong with the world that you want to get out of it. It's just that there's more possibilities in the other world that aren't possible in the world you're currently living in.
I don't know. I like to be centered in the real world. Like
What if we're like dolphins that see humans, and we like developed a VR system that allows us to live as humans?
are we the cyborg Navy dolphin and Johnny Mnemonic?
You guys are really.
It's not even off topic, but like that's what I'm saying. Like, what if we are like a species that saw humans and wanted to live as humans, and that's what this is?
What if I'm like horribly like mangled in an accident?
Or you look like
Are you
Cthulhu.
saying I should live in the real world?
No,
rather than a
I'm not
simulation?
saying that. But what I'm saying is if you're
Stay in
met
a
with
wheelchair.
I'm saying if you're met with people who do not accept you for who you are and you feel more comfortable in the VR world, I think that says something about society.
Okay. Yeah.
Because you should be able to be accepted. Okay, so you've been in a car accident and you've been deformed or you've been crippled or you've been handicapped. Society shouldn't look at you and be like, "Oh, you're other."
No, I was.
Yeah, but
I
you're
was
less able to do things.
I was going to come at it from the angle that yes, I can do a lot more in a simulation than have to live in.
Oh, okay.
Like,
I
if you
wasn't
lose
going-
your limbs and we're not able to replace them, you could go back to living in a world where you have your limbs again.
Yeah, like that I understand, but also we should be working towards, when we talked about in the cybernetics episode, we should be working towards getting you to be able to live in the real world with minimal difference to what had happened.
But
be
why
functionally
have to live in the real world, though? Like,
because
what
it's real! It's
But
the actual
you
world!
don't even know if this is real.
Just build a Dyson sphere and then put everyone into the simulation because we can just basically live.
For all you know, that's what happened.
No,
We
it
could be.
bothers me.
It could be trillions of years into the future. This last star is about to die out, but we're experiencing the year 2021.
Like, what is the difference?
Mm-hmm.
What makes real for you? Like, I don't understand the concept.
Like in
of
5
real.
seconds.
Why are you valuing the
In-
concept of real?
In 5 seconds, an alien could be boarding our ship and just killing all of our bodies.
Man,
Like,
who's
okay.
going to clean that up if we're all in the simulation? It's going to be messy. I don't know. Just the idea of the things that we're doing, like right now, this microphone on this table in your basement surrounded by blankets is not real, and it's just a simulation, and it's either a simulation invented by some grad student somewhere who's trying to get his doctorate, or some just all-powerful scientist code or whatever, or alien race, or what have you, and that this is not real, and at any moment it could go dark because it's the end of the simulation. We've run out of RAM and we can't download anymore.
Program not responding.
Yeah,
Someone accidentally trips over the power cord.
and yanks it. Like, that is terrifying to me.
You're saying the idea that the world we experience could be a facsimile is lessening the value of what you've done here.
Yes,
That's so weird.
Do you fear death?
absolutely. We've had this conversation.
Halfway? I don't think we've had this
Not on the
conversation
podcast, but we've had this conversation. I fear death. And that's one of those things. I fear death now. If I die now, there will be things left unsaid and things left undone.
What do you want to say to me, Gary?
That's not safe for the podcast. No, but like there will be things left unsaid and undone, and I will feel disappointed in myself. More than anything, disappointed in myself. However, if I die at the ripe old age of whatever time I die at, like, but older, and like let's say I've had kids, maybe I have grandkids at this point, and I've taught them well, and they're living their life, and it's my time to go, then I will be. Then I will not fear death because I have done something.
Wait, so hold on. If you were to die tomorrow in a random car accident, you would feel bad about yourself. You'd feel like a failure or you didn't accomplish it. Like
Things
even
unsaid
if it
and
was
undone, yeah.
something completely out of your control.
Like I didn't wash my underwear. Now Mom has to do it.
So
or she has to throw it away. Like, yeah, that bothers me. If I would die of a disease after, or just of old age, like just organ failure of being old, after having kids and possibly having grandchildren, and like being there to like teach them and seeing, for my kids, seeing, a large portion of their life and seeing a small portion of my grandparents' life or my grandchildren's life, and then I would die, I wouldn't fear death as much, because yes, I've done something, and yes, I've said the things like, I've been able to hold my kid and tell them, hey, you did good. They've had grandchildren, and I can look at I've looked at my grandchild and said, hey, you're gonna do something one day. You're gonna be something someday. You're going, like, you're gonna go far, kid. And if I get to say those two, if I can tell my son or my daughter, hey, I love you, and if they have children who end up becoming my grandchildren, I can look at them and say, hey, I love you. You're gonna go and be something in this fucked up world, and then I die, I will accept it.
You seem very results driven for your life.
Yes.
Like you're only satisfied with your life having achieved certain results.
This may be a dangerous question, but like, have you ever thought about the fact that it'll all just be gone someday anyway?
Yeah.
Does that bother you? Like, does it bother? Like, you're like, you want to do all this work and you want to do all this stuff, but it's all going to be for naught.
It depends on the context of it's all going to be gone one day. Are you saying in the heat death of the universe?
Yeah, like eventually.
That so much doesn't bother me. Now, if the heat death of the universe ended up being tomorrow and we were way off, then I'm going to be upset. But like. I'm okay with leaving the legacy knowing that eventually one day the legacy just isn't going to matter.
So how...
Because all things...
Why is that different from just not leaving a legacy then?
Because it's something for me to do. It's something for me to do. It's a lifelong hobby.
I don't know how you'd be upset if you didn't accomplish those things. Like, say you're on the path to do that, right? And you're living your life and you're working towards these goals. Why does it matter if you die 30 years from now having achieved those goals versus having died...
Because
in the pursuit of those goals.
Because I've achieved them. I have something to leave behind.
So the ends are really important for you.
Yes. If you haven't figured it out, I like the idea of being an old man in a rocking chair yelling at my kids. If looking at me now has not given you that, idea.
We're going to look the way we do now, and he's going to be this old... We're going to be, like, visiting him in the old folks facilities they'll have for people who want to age naturally.
And I'll still be quick like a whip. See, but, like, even that idea isn't that weird for me. Like, if you guys end up doing something... like, say you get like a vaccine that like you guys never age anymore and you guys are virtually immortal, and I choose not to get it and I just get old and like crotchety and rickety and like turn white and wrinkled and sag more than I do now, but you guys come and visit me and you're relatively the same, that's not weird to me.
So in that situation you wouldn't even want to just remain young and then just kill yourself when you wanted to die?
We touched on this before, I think. Maybe not on the podcast.
No,
we kind of talked about it.
We talked about it a little bit, but this is a different like, we didn't get into this portion of it.
No, I would be okay. And, like, I would want you guys to visit me. Because I'd want to see, like, you guys are still my friends. Like, like you
That's
guys...
not the point.
Like, you guys are my friends. But, like, no, I'd rather go naturally. Go due to old age or heart failure or diabetes or whatever. I'd rather go then, just rather than choosing, hey, it's my time, click the button, and it's over. I wanted to run its natural course. And
I would imagine you and I, Aaron, are more on the other side of that. I can't.
Yeah,
I don't know your mental state.
I'm totally fine with not aging and living till whenever, and that's great.
And checking out.
No, it's just really interesting.
Yeah,
the specific things in your life that you accomplish are that I don't say important to you. That's interesting to me because to me it's not what I accomplish; it's how I'm trying to live my life and set out. You know what I mean? Like,
well, but that's where our visions aren't necessarily that different though either. For you, it's how you live your life, and for me, it's how I live my life too. It's just at the end of how I live my life, I have a certain expectation of what I'm going to have. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying you don't have that expectation. It's just I am very concrete in what I want. Huh. I want at least 2 kids, preferably one of them a boy. I would like grandchildren. And that's it. That's all I'm working towards. And I want them to have a good life. That's it. That's all I want to accomplish in this lifetime. To have kids and give them a good life. Where they don't want for anything. That's it.
You want to give them what you never had. That sounds like what this is stemming from. Yes. Is you want someone to be able to experience what you think you should have experienced.
So the question I'll pose to you is, what if you get to that point and then you find... You want more things, new goals, different,
That's what having a midlife crisis is for.
Will you regret, during the...
I guess the question is, why does aging have to be a part of that?
Because aging is natural.
So is polio.
Okay, all right. Because I'm not...
Would you vaccinate your children?
Yes, I would vaccinate my children. The whole thing when I say because aging is natural is because I don't want to be... Say I took that vaccine we were talking about and I stopped aging. Mm-hmm. And then I have my kids. When do I give them that vaccine? Do they
when they want to
when they want it?
Yeah, but it's imagine I take that vaccine and then they don't. Maybe they don't want to live forever and I am. That means I have to watch and live long enough to see them die and bury them. No.
I mean, that's how it is right now. Now, again, your kids and your parents aren't exactly the same, but that's how it is with everyone alive that you know right now.
If I wanted kids, that would be the dream. Because
outlive your children?
In that sense, yes. Because imagine that. Because what you're saying is you want to provide the best life for that person that you can. The best way you could possibly do that is to be there for their entire life.
No, see, and we have had this conversation on the podcast before. Because I am of the mind of you can only teach your kids so much in the time that you have. There's a point where, and I'm pretty sure I have said this in episode 3.
No, this has never come up.
Yes, it has, because let me finish the argument. Is there comes a point where you can teach your kids as much as you know, but there's a point where that hits a wall. Can you continue to teach them? Yes. But when does it become better for them to just go and live their life?
I think regardless of whether or not you die, they'll still experience that, but they never have to go through their parents dying.
We did have this conversation a little bit, I remember, because I think I brought up the point, well, what if, Gary, instead of actually dying at, let's say, 93, you just go to retirement of the future where they just put you on a rocket to Mars and then you just cut off all contact with your children as if you were dead.
No, and like I said when we had this conversation before, no, because as I'm alive, I have an obligation to my children to be there for what they need.
And why wouldn't you want to be there for their entire life?
Because they need to learn things on their own and things of which I cannot help them.
So you don't have to teach them.
At some point, it's the handing of the reins, the passing of the torch.
Yeah. That point's going to come long before you die, though.
Right. And that's when you observe it from a third-person perspective. You see them growing up. You see them get married, and, you maybe see them, have problems in their relationships, and, maybe they get divorced. And you're there for that, but you're not an active member of it. So the best you can do is give advice. Right?
Yeah,
that's all you can do.
You could at least always be there so that they have someone to go to.
I understand that, but there comes a point where it's no longer up to me. There's a point where you can help your children as much as you can. And yes, maybe living forever would help them more. But from my perspective, there's a point where you stop being able to help them because they need to be able to help themselves. And it's from how I was raised. So this is why I'm not saying it's for everyone. I'm saying this is from my perspective. You have to pass the reins over. You have to hand that torch over and say, listen, it's on you now. Okay. You have to go.
So why don't you just pivot your life in a different direction at that point and take the focus off of family? Maybe you'll be around in a very minor way.
You don't take as long as you have family is the most important.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm immovable.
That's a sentiment I disagree with strongly.
And I know it's not for everyone because people have had different families, and They have different perspectives.
You said it yourself.
But I'm immovable on that point.
Let them find their own way at some point and
yeah,
be kind of on their own. And that's
and that's what you do. But you're still watching them. You are the failsafe in the end. But there's a point where that failsafe can't exist anymore. It's like the reset button thing.
That's so
it's
weird.
like you can keep hitting the reset button, but then the one time you go and hit it, it's not there anymore.
So to free yourself of your family obligations, you have to.
No, it's not freeing yourself. No.
No, I know that's twisted.
Yeah, it's how. Yeah, that's really fucked up, actually. But no, because it's like a lot of this has been like
here's my
very
question.
shunted into my perspective, particularly with my grandfather passing away so recently, because it's like, you know, he was the patriarch. He has guided all of us, a large majority of us, in the right direction. And like we understand, like, yes, my grandfather's passing was sad, but he was suffering. And I'm not sad. There's two parts of it. I'm not sad that he's dead because his suffering is over. I am sad that he's dead because now I can't go and talk to him.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about both my grandparents because they also passed away recently.
And that's my point. Like, you'll reach a point that you don't have to lean on these people, but it would be nice for your kids to be able to come to you if they ever want to.
Well, let me finish. And even though I can't go and talk to him, I know, and this is like a religious thing, I know he's still watching. You get it? You follow me?
Okay. My final, I guess, point to end on, Gary, is what about the possibility that at some point you change your mind or alter your view? Because once you die, you can't exactly go back, right? But you can always choose to die at a later point, right? So like, what if at some point you change your mind or your view or something?
Then that's something for future me to deal with at that moment in time. But it's hard for you to ask me that question and for me to talk about it now.
Yeah.
Because I am immovable on this perspective as it stands right now.
But what I mean is, like, what if you die at, say, again, 93, when if you had lived till 97, you might have
seen my grandkids graduate or things
or
like
something.
that.
Yeah. And be like, wow, I've seen my great-grandkids, and I want to,
stick around
to see their life and whatever.
See another generation.
But, like, you don't have the chance to change your mind because you're already dead.
It's one of those things where it's like you have to reach a point when you're like, yeah, I could stick around, and yeah, I could see more, but I'm okay with what I've seen. I'm happy and I'm content.
I guess what like our point of view is saying, why limit to the scope of a natural human life?
Why not just pick it yourself?
Why not just pick it yourself? Because will reach I would argue most people would reach that point eventually, even if you lived for millions of years. You would eventually be like, I've done everything there is to do.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in agreement.
I don't know. Because part of the reason is it's so hard for me to wrap my brain around the things I could see. Like, oh, the things you'll see. Like, oh, the things you'll do. It's hard to wrap my head around it and get to that point in my own mind. Because it's like, I can't even fathom if I would live to be 124, some of the shit I might see.
That's even a real possibility as it is now.
Yeah. And
but
like,
if you got in better shape, maybe. But.
Fuck off.
Talking about self-improvement.
Yeah,
this
like Christ.
It's a safe space.
This is not a safe space. I've been attacked multiple times this episode.
You've also attacked multiple people in a previous
episode. Yeah.
Gary's on the defense of this episode.
Yeah. I'm playing defense. So part of it's I can't wrap my head around it, and it's because I can't wrap my head around it, I'm sticking safe. I'm playing it conservatively, and I'm going with what my grandparents before me have seen.
Yeah.
You know, and I was blessed to, you know, be born into a family where I got to know my great-great-grandfather and my great-grandmother. You know, I've known them. So, yeah, it's a very real possibility that I will see multiple generations grow up.
You better get on that soon, then.
Who's saying I'm not already on that? My kid walks in. Oh, hi, Thomas.
Oh, God.
Who let you out of the trunk?
Okay.
That's a moment I'm not looking forward to.
What, little me?
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to be the babysitter.
No.
I think we've run out of steam here.
You think so? I will say this as the final sentiment for this episode is that, in summary, if life turns out to be a simulation, while you two would kind of accept it in a more welcoming stance, it would destroy me personally. And simply because,
You're
like,
feeling you lose something if it turns
yeah,
out to be
it
something.
loses, like, the mystery is gone. The mystery of life. What's the answer to life? 42.
So would you be disappointed if when you died you found out the truth about the universe? What
Depending
if it's
on
not
the
a
truth.
simulation, but like
Depending
you
on what
found
the
out
truth was.
You like
Yeah.
the curtains were pulled back and you see how everything works.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to know. If I was forced to know, all right, but like I wouldn't. I'd let it go.